Beats the devil out of me, how to get an angel on your team. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm with the IdeaPros marketing team, and I have Fred Cary with me today, who is executive chairman of IdeaPros, and we're talking about angel investors, which is an awesome topic for most of you that are watching us. This is a fun one, but it's also really important. So I'm gonna just say hi real quick. I know we might have another guest pop in with us today, so that will be exciting. But while we're doing that, if you guys are watching us live, #live. I see you over there, recite Kelly, Bishan, Jared, Martin. Thank you guys for popping in, and let us know with #live or replay, #replay, so we know you're here. Excellent. We can't see you until you talk to us, so you can give us love too. But we'd like to see you. Hi, Stephanie. Glad to have you here. Mary, excellent. Well, thank you guys all for being here. And Fred, I know you can kind of get us started on this topic, and then we'll see where it goes. So if you guys have questions, though, put them in the chat, and we'll see if we can get to them.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to my Bluetooth speaker here so I can hear better. I am connected to my smartphone. No, I'm disconnected.
Well, that's okay. While you guys we have a couple more that popped in. So hi, Mark. Hi, Sherry. Good to have you guys here. If you're actually in that phase where you're looking for investors, maybe just put investors in the chat. So I'm curious if we have people who are in that phase right now. Awesome.
Do we?
Well, they're actually still typing, so I can't tell yet. It takes a couple seconds. Facebook loves to give us a little bit of a delay. I know that it's been brought up with our partners before, so I do know that it's a big question that people have. And well, Fred, I mean, it's a common way for people to go to get investors for their businesses?
Well, yeah. I'm going to give up on my Bluetooth for now. It reminds me of actually some founders. They want to do it, they don't want to do it. They want to do it, they don't want to do it. And that's what's going on with my Bluetooth today. The reality is, you need investment dollars if you're going to grow your business beyond your own capacity to grow it. So some of the problems that we end up here working with so many entrepreneurs ourselves is that sometimes we get to the finish line, and by the way, we have 50 products here just getting ready to launch, and we get to the finish line and we find that our entrepreneur who's been waiting for a year or 2 years to take over the reins is really not prepared. And sometimes we're not prepared because we have this sensation that we're going to go live, we're going to get a few pre-orders, and then the cash flow is going to just keep us moving without any help from anybody, without having to go to our bank account or our home mortgage or 401k plan or whatever savings we've been saving up for the last couple of years to make sure that we can do a launch. What happens is, instead, we're sitting there flat-footed, not knowing what to do next. We're waiting for all this time, launch is happening, and then where do you go from here? There's several avenues that entrepreneurs can use and do use all the time. I've raised money for 40 years for different projects that I've had. I've done things like sell my sailboat, mortgage my home, sell a car that I really wanted, borrow money from my friends. And so being an entrepreneur has its really great sides, like creating something, and the side that is kind of more cringing and people are afraid of is going out and getting the additional capital that you may want to accelerate your growth, right? People can grow a company on bare bones, but you're going to grow at a certain rate. And if you want to take your brand new company, your brand new product, and you want to accelerate the pace with which you're going to grow, there are several avenues for you. Let me talk about angel investors and the difference between angel investors and venture capital firms. Angel investors are pretty much individuals. I mean, there are super angel groups that are family offices of billionaires and multimillionaires that really go out and make big investments for themselves. But angels a lot of times will be in groups. And in those groups, they might make $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 investments, $100,000, depending on who that angel is. But they typically will invest in groups. A super angel will invest in you just by themselves. What's really good about an angel investor is that you don't have to be far along. In fact, you really don't need to be anywhere before you might be able to get an angel investor to invest in you. And a venture capital firm is a very sophisticated animal. They are betting that 1 out of 20 of the projects they take on will make it. And they have pretty outrageous terms that they're going to spring on you in order to be able to work with you. And typically they won't do it unless you're making money already, unless you already have a business, you're growing, they can see a trajectory, and you're able to facilitate what they want and to meet the terms that they need. An angel is a little bit looser. It could be a doctor, a lawyer, somebody has a construction company that really wants to make additional money, and they've set aside a certain amount of their capital to be risky, right? Because the thing about angels is, in a sense, if you think about it, and I'm going to talk about from the angel side of things now instead of from the investor side for a minute, because you need to know what's inside the beast before you can work with it. An angel investor, in some sense, is a wannabe entrepreneur. They're entrepreneurial in themselves because, here it could be this doctor who has this heavy workload and is stressed out all the time and wants to take some of his capital and make it risk capital to be able to go into, we just had Rusty show up, and we're going to talk to him in a second after I explain this. Rusty was just meeting with an angel investor from one of his products. He's not smiling right now, so I don't know how it went, but we're going to find out about it. We'll have a case study right here. But the reality is, angels, in a sense, are, as I said, wannabe entrepreneurs. They want to be interested in something. They want to be excited in something. They're willing to take that risk with you. And they might have that $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 that you need to go forward. So when you're looking inside the mind of an angel investor, you need to understand what they're looking for. They're not looking for fluff. They're not looking for exaggerated numbers. They're not looking for people who say, this is a $10 billion market, and if I capture 1% of it, I'm going to be rich, and you're going to be rich. Because nobody captures 1% of a marketplace. And it really just kind of shows your naivety if you're talking about going into this $10 billion marketplace and making some penetration in that market at a 1% level. You get killed, you get smoked, it doesn't happen. So you need to be prepared to say, this is my market, this is how I'm going to attack it, this is what I'm hoping to achieve. It has to be on a reasonable basis, and it can't be a dot. It has to be a line. This is what I'm going to do here. After you give me some money, this is where I'm going to go next. This is where I'm going to go next, and this is where I'm going to go next, and this is what I'm going to need both in capital and resources to get there. If you just have this dot that says, give me money and we'll be famous and rich, you're going to get kicked out of the door. So one cool thing that you can do is talk about a specific customer product or problem. You have a persona. My typical customer is Joe. Joe has a wife and 2 kids. Joe's in the middle of the economy and has this job that he's had for 10 years. Joe loves my product because this is how it's going to change Joe's life. This is what he's going to want to do with it. This is what he's willing to pay for it. And this is the data that I have to support that. So knowledge brought to a personal level where an angel investor can really understand, right? Because a lot of times you may have a product that you've thought about for 2 years, you know everything there is about it. You have this vision that every single person in the world is going to want this and need it and love it and just put you up on their shoulders and parade around with you. An angel is not going to believe any of that. Show them something in black and white, be reasonable, be respectful. Don't talk about how Joe's life's going to change forever after he gets your product. Just talk about why this product is important for Joe. Another thing is to really believe in what you have. it may very well be that an angel kicks you out the door. Be persistent. I say, don't go until he threatens to call the cops. Believe in what you have. Go back. I've had instances where I went to somebody 10 times, and then they sat me down and wrote me a big check. But 9 times they told me to get the hell out of the office. They didn't get to the point of calling the cops. They got to the point of calling their bookkeeper and getting their checkbook. So be persistent in what you're going to do, and also be realistic in your valuations. We all think that our babies are the most beautiful baby in the world. We all think our product is $1 billion product. Every single person that's ever worked with me has told me that their product's going to be the biggest one I have. But to have a big product, you have to start with being realistic. You know that you have this vision of where you're going to go, but you know that you're here, and you're never going to get there if you don't get that little bit of capital that you need at the beginning point for you to be able to take those next steps. So if you have a company with no product, you have drawings, you have engineering, you may have a prototype, you have your go-to-market strategy, but you don't have any sales or anything, somebody's going to give you $100,000, and that's going to change your immediate life to enable you to go get your first order quantity, to be able to get you to do some marketing money. That's invaluable money. Without that money, you're not going to go anywhere. So your dream of being up here is going to stay down here forever. So don't be foolish and don't say, hey, this should be a $20 million valuation. You don't have any sales, and you're not going to have any sales unless I give you money. So don't talk to me about a $20 million valuation. I'm going to give you money to enable what you need to do. Give me some reasonable expectation on what I'm going to receive for that, what percentage in equity I'm going to receive for that.
I know you mentioned it too, that it's a little bit of a pet peeve of yours when they are overvaluing, and even the sharks on Shark Tank say the same thing. They're like just really annoyed when people are overvaluing. So do your research.
Yeah, and by the way, the sharks all got that from me.
Of course.
So another thing that you can easily do as an entrepreneur going out to raise money is you can be ignorant really fast. If an angel that you're talking to has spent a half an hour preparing to meet with you, and he knows more about your competition than you do, you're not going to get any money, no matter how great your product is. You need to be able to answer questions. You need to be able to know where you sit in the marketplace, why you're going to beat the competition, what your competitive advantages are. I'm running out of room on my screen, but there are several other things that you need to be aware of. That doesn't mean you need to be aware of anything and everything. There are sideball questions that can be thrown at you all the time. Never wing it. If you don't know the answer, you need to sit there and you need to say, you know what? That's a really unusual question. That's a great question. Can I look it up and get back to you tomorrow with an answer? And those are some of the things that you need to do. You need to be real. You need to understand what you're doing. You need to be realistic with your valuation. And you need to have a compelling way to explain why your product is a good product that people are going to want, and why the investment that this person is going to make in you is a good investment. So let's get Rusty over here.
Great.
Come here and talk to now. Rusty, you've actually raised money from angels a couple of times, right? Right. Rusty is. Can you
might have to let. Yeah, we can't see you.
Rusty's a brilliant entrepreneur, great designer. I don't know if the people with our sports wall are there, but they love your ass. He just really thinks out of the box, and he makes his own products. So I'm just going to let you talk a little bit about some of your experiences. I don't know if you want to start with the experience you just had 15 minutes ago, and then go back to a couple of successful.
So yeah, I don't know where to start. I guess for the past 20 years, I've designed consumer products. Whenever I first got into designing products, I have a degree in industrial design, product design. When I first got into designing products, I invented toys, actually, which was really cool. And I invented toys, and we would license them to Fisher-Price, Hasbro, the bigger guys there. So always had this kind of entrepreneurial, like, inventor mentality when it comes to design.
How many did you license to them?
probably 20 over the course of 2 years. So it was a decent amount. And then I didn't, particularly want to get stuck as a toy designer. So I moved into designing for consulting firms. And for these consulting firms, they're basically a design organization that's outsourced. So some companies that are even really big brands, they don't have an in-house design team, so they'll hire these, consulting firms. But entrepreneurs come there as well, and it kind of get your product design that way. For those guys, I was working directly with entrepreneurs and building these packages for them to go raise money. And I was, working for a consulting firm, getting paid to do that. So I saw a ton of deals and a ton of, pitch decks and built pitch decks with people, and did that for about 8 years. And then I wouldn't raise money on my own. I saw people succeed around me that I was working on their pitch decks. I was like, man, I want to do that. So I went and put together a presentation and raised around $800,000 over the course of a couple of years. But that I guess the way that I went through it that first time was really, not trying to raise this crazy amount of money, just trying to get enough to take it to this next step and get the ball rolling, get the momentum happening. And we did that. It was, the first was, get this kind of, I need some help, some help with financing the prototypes and some of the engineering services that were outside of my design scope, and just getting this first package built. Once that package was built, then I had something to show, and I had quotes from the manufacturers, and it was something that I knew, like some realistic numbers, like as we were talking about, knowing your numbers is crucial for how the business is going to make money, and the business model and how the investor is going to make money from that. So it goes from like, at the first side of it's really just kind of figuring out what the product is, how you're going to market, how you're going to manufacture it, the business model around how you're going to sell it, and then kind of getting this like nice package put together that you're like, now, okay, now I just need the ability to make it fly. I think that's what launch that IdeaPros does really well is that first side of it where you're just, you're kind of building the strategy and getting your story straight.
And sorry, Rusty, just to ask one quick question. When you're talking about getting that package together, that's essentially your pitch deck, right? It's the information you're going to present.
Yes, it's the pitch deck, but it's also, looks alike, works alike prototype. It's these case studies that Fred was explaining. Yes. That's crucial, and having even like video interviews with people that are like, man, how would my life change if I had this product? And just real experiences. And now it's not like you're not selling this dream. It's like very real that there's people involved, and these are the type of people we're going to go after. And it's this big picture approach to the business, and future, the future of reality of what the investor is going to be a part of, because they want to, if an investor gets involved, they want it to be excited about it and be able to tell the story in a simple way and say, I'm invested in this company, and this is what they do, and this is how they make money, and they want to be able to talk about it over a glass of wine with their friends, right? And it should be a pretty simple situation. And so
right, I think Fred talks about that all the time. He's like, keep it simple.
Yeah, well, the old school way of doing it is I got to go build this crazy business plan and all this stuff. I mean, business plans are really just to see how your mind works and how you think about things, and but it's also can be just overcomplicated. And they're like, wait, I don't want to. How's it going to make money? How's it going to affect my life? How can I talk about it?
You don't want to give an angel a 60-page business.
Yeah, they're like, oh, this guy's going to be high maintenance. I don't have time for this shit, And so it's got to, and you have to. I think that's a big part of it too. You're vetting them as well. You're like, hey, do I want to work with this guy? Is he cool? Like, do we get along? Do we have other things to talk about besides the business? I don't know. So you're vetting them as much as they're vetting you, I think. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it just takes a little bit of time and make sure it's the right fit. And don't overpressure the situation and keep it simple. And
so what were you trying to do today, and kind of how did that go without disclosing any secrets?
I have a business. I produce CBD products for dogs, specifically. It's called Happy Canine, and
you'll be seeing it on the launch pad soon.
Mhm.
So we're actually a dog brand that niched down to CBD, not a CBD brand that's focused on dogs. So that's kind of our pitch, that we're launching a dog brand, and our flagship product is CBD, and so there's this big opportunity. Obviously the pet market's huge, and there's so many angles we can go, and so many products we can launch. So we're building this cohesive pet brand. Well, I got introduced to this guy who's has a 120-year-old pet company and from Boston that he's run for a long time. He like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, he came down with cancer. He was the CEO of this pet company in Boston, and he just said, you know what, I'm going to retire, and he lives like right down the street here in La Jolla. So I'm going to retire. He had to go through chemo. He had prostate cancer, which was crazy. So for the past 2 years, he's been going through chemo, and he came out of it. Now he's kind of free and clear over the past month. And he's, cannabis and CBD has changed his life, and he comes from the pet industry. Now he's working because he discovered this great supplement, and to see what it's done to his life. Obviously it's growing in the pet industry. He's now trying to get this old 100-year-old company to know how to market CBD products. And apparently they're not very good at that. It's a very old school way of looking at it. So anyway, just to paint the picture on this guy and how he's related to what we're doing, the way I see it is like, wow, this guy's got, 60-year, he's like 60 years old. He's got, 20, 30-year relationships with retailers. He's seen everything. He's a great strategic investor. He's in it for the right reasons. He wants to invest because as kind of a FU to the old guard for the other situation. So it's kind of like learning his intentions. And
I was going to say, did you do research before you met with him, right? So who your audience is that you're pitching to, essentially.
Well, I got introduced by a friend that kind of gave me the backstory, but
right.
It was a lot of question asking, and it turns into these stories. And obviously, he's got a lot of know-how in the business development side of the house, the operation side, distribution side. And he's really excited about launching crowdfunding products, which we're going to be launching a really cool crowdfunding product. It's just kind of being modular, being able to kind of almost shift gears and be able to showcase the company in the light that he sees it have, I guess. And so anyway, it was a lot of question asking, and it's really good. I feel there's really good vibes between us. He gets the pet market. When we explain things, he lights up and gets excited because he knows it'll work just instinctually.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so
well, that's the end result. Fred's like, let's cut to the chase.
Yeah. No, but it comes through, vetting both sides and making sure it's a right fit. And
right. Well, you were persistent. You knew what you're worth, and you had your numbers together. So you came to the table knowing what you can offer, right? And you believe in what you have. So you used all of Fred's tips.
Yeah.
So there's a good point here too. Money is money, but when you have somebody who wants to invest in you that has the critical market knowledge of the area that you're in, number one, it's going to be easier for them to get what you're doing. Number two, they're going to be more likely to invest if what you're doing really fits well in the market they understand. And number three, to your point, they're going to be able to open up a whole lot of doors for you because they have this 30 years worth of knowledge in the industry that you're in. So that's your dream angel. If you can find an angel that really understands the marketplace that you're in, has had a long career in that market, really digs what you're doing, that's a great investor. So you're not going to always get people like that, but you should definitely look for them. Who can give me money and help me, especially if it's the first time you're doing it, right? Even if it's one of our partners working with IdeaPros, you're going to have a ton of help from us. But most people don't work with IdeaPros. There are 550,000 new entrepreneurs every month in America alone. So God forbid we have that many people working with us. So you're not necessarily that likely to find somebody so strategically positioned, but you better look for them first. But the bottom line is, I know we're out of time here.
We are, but I mean, we had some really great questions also.
Okay.
I'm going to let you do your final thought, but I don't know if you want to try to answer some of these questions
Well, let's do the questions.
Okay, so we have some really good ones. I just have to scroll down to them. Okay, so
I hate really good questions because we can't answer most of them.
Maybe not. What the difference between seed round A, B, the different rounds, is that something you can answer?
Well, okay, so a seed round is the first bit of money that you get, right? Typically, it's going to be with an angel group, and when you're talking about your A rounds and B rounds and things like that, you're typically talking about venture capital. There's some early stage venture capital firms that will do a seed round for you, $500,000, $1 million. But for the most part, most of you who are building a single product are going to go the angel route. And that you can consider to be a seed round, right? The seed being what gets planted to be able to grow this big oak tree that you're trying to grow.
Got it. There's another question about the ratio between angel investing and equity given back to the investor. That question makes sense.
Yeah. So I say whatever you can get, whatever deals you can make. One of the problems, right?
Well, one of the really good ways of doing it is versus creating an LLC, you can create a C corp with convertible notes. So if you look into that, I mean, that's a whole podcast in itself. But I'd look into C corps and convertible notes. It really doesn't put a set valuation on the company until over time. And there's a lot of tricks around it, but yeah, look that up. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and you need help if you're going to be doing something like that, because with a convertible note, if you don't know what you're doing, you may sign something that you're going to regret. So
ways to, versus an LLC, there's ways to kind of obfuscate the set valuation of the company by doing certain things. But
so
actually,
I would say
that's another question.
Hold on, let me just finish this one thought here. But I would say generally with a decent product, you're probably not out of line asking for $1 million valuation, even right at the very beginning.
No, it depends on your track record, and I think that's the thing too. You want to make sure that you come across as the expert in this industry, and you're like, man, I want to launch this product, and I'm the perfect person to do it because of this reason. That's a really big thing. And you sell this dream, and then you're like, and I'm the perfect guy for it because of this. It's this aha moment. But anyway, back to the C corp and convertible note makes the most sense.
Yeah, and if you're looking at $1 million valuation, somebody's going to give you $100,000. You're going to give them 10%. Karen wants to know how you determine valuation.
Yes.
It's how much you're willing to give up for the money you're going to get. Right now your valuation is zero when you don't have a product and you need money to go somewhere, right? So if you have somebody that's going to give you the money that's going to make the difference between your survival and your potential growth and not having any chance at all, then I've had deals where I've given up way too much in the beginning because that's all I could get. And maybe somebody's giving me $100,000 and I'm giving them 25-30% of the company, but I know without that money I'm not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. So, but Elon Musk can go raise money on $1 billion valuation just because of who he is and what he's done.
Right.
So you kind of start somewhere, but you just kind of like stoking the fire and don't try to raise $500,000 out the gate, or just raise enough to get this cool package put together, $100,000, $200,000 at $1 million valuation. It's pretty standard, and then build this really great story, and then you get some validation from the market, and next thing you know, you're raising at a $5-10 million valuation because of the potential of it, not necessarily because of the the money or the revenue that you've generated by sales. It's really the potential. Like one reason why, to put into context, right now our sales are not completely through the roof with Happy Canine, and that's not what our next valuation during this round. I've already raised $200,000 of $1 million valuation, but now this next valuation isn't necessarily all based off of revenue generated over the past 2 years. It's based on the relationships that I built with the farm, the relationships I built with our veterinarian, the deal that I struck with our digital marketing company, all the advisors that I have on board. Now
relationships, right? You're building the relationships,
right?
and
I built this story, and now the value is based on the potential. If you pour some gas on the fire, that with this little amber that we've created, it can do really well. So it's not so much about. Usually, Shark Tank would tell you it's 100% sales, right? I mean, I went on to Shark Tank. We got to deal with Damon John, and like my valuation was a lot higher than it deserved because of the revenue generated. But yeah, so it's bigger than just the sales.
It's fascinating, though.
The relationships and alignment that you made to make it successful.
Yeah, and you just posted something.
Yes, from Scott.
Here, basically, there it is. If you don't have any sales, how do you get started? How do you come up with the numbers? You need to be able to show what you're going to do with that money. It's as simple as that. If you give me X number of dollars, I'm going to be able to accomplish this. Well, how do you know you're going to be able to accomplish this? Because I have this data, and I did a little bit of test advertising, and I know for every dollar I spend, I'm going to get $7 back. And you need to be able to show them what you're going to do with the money, and that requires you to do homework, to understand your market, understand your customer, understand how to reach your customer, and understand how much money you need to make that initial penetration that you have to go.
Right. Yeah, and then I think a big one too is talking to people that will be your future customer and being extremely curious about how this will realistically fit into their lives. And just have a lot of conversations. Go meet people, talk to people. Whether it's in a Target or in a store or like wherever your product would be sold. Go hang out on that. It sounds weird, but hang out on that aisle.
He's loitering, but that's okay.
You actually got a lot of feedback from your Gobi water product that we're going to be relaunching.
Yeah.
You would reach out to customers themselves and ask about their experience.
I look like a psychopath because of the amount of water bottles I had in my house. I bought every, it's crazy. I bought every bottle that existed. And it was like, looked like a hoarder of water bottles.
Hey, it's market research, right? And
Yeah.
you've got to talk to your customers.
Those micro discoveries that happen by doing that, and then you can tell those stories to an investor. And they're like, man, this guy is so passionate about this. Like,
I love your idea about getting videos of them because you can prove you have this conversation. It's more than just a piece of paper that's being displayed to somebody. But I have a couple questions. I know we have to run. I just wanted to push this. Actually, not questions. These are comments. So Shelly says that it was a great live session and she really enjoyed it. We had quite a few of those. And then I think, Eclipse is basically, which is Steve Brown, right? And he's saying it's very well thought out strategy. So we're really thankful that you hopped on and helped us to get through this topic. Wow, Fred, your Zoom is going in and out there.
Really?
Yeah, I think you got close. So I think that we have maybe one final thought, if you want to say it, Fred, and then we'll let these lovely people get back to their day. But if we didn't catch your question, we will follow up with you guys in the chat for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, can you imagine going through the want ads and seeing this job application that says, hey, worker needed, must be willing to work day and night, 7 days a week, no pay, extreme panic and extreme adulation coming minute by minute. And you must be willing to be beaten about the head and body repeatedly, and there may be a payday for you at the end of it. That's what being an entrepreneur is like. And anybody who thinks that they're just going to create something that doesn't exist get money from people that don't know you and actually have something that's successful and it's going to be easy, you're not an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur, you know pain, because it is painful doing this. And there are a bunch of twists and turns and dead ends and retreats and finding different ways to do things. That's what it's all about, folks. And if you persist, you persevere, you're going to make it. If you don't, go back to your 9-to-5 job.
Thank you so much, Fred. I really appreciate you guys. I'm actually going to let you guys fall out, and I'm just going to finish up with all of the other mentions that we have over here. So thank you so much, Rusty. We appreciate
you. Yeah. I got a free sandwich for you. Cool.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
So everyone, we are here every Friday at noon Pacific time. So we'd love to have you back. Thank you so much. I know I saw Sean. Hey, Sean, good to have you here. Kelly Reed said great information. Thank you for that. We have so much. Shelly, I love it. It is true. I think it's going to be really cool when we get that CBD product out there. And Sean says it's Fred's his dream angel, and yes, he's helping a lot of business owners. So if you guys haven't already followed our channel, you can, in our post, you can actually get reminders when we go live, and you can also ask questions that turn into topics. So if we're not covering something that you really want to learn about, let us know. Oh, I love it. And I saw Kwame. Hey, I just, relationship goes a long way in business. It does. I wish I saw this when Fred was on there. I'm sure he'll catch this in the replay, but yes, absolutely. Building relationships. And another question that I saw in our chat was, how do you find these investors? So I will have a little bit more depth information on our blog for you guys once we launch this. Hey, Aziza, good to see you. Happy Friday. Love having you guys here. Please mark to get reminders when after this show is done. If you're on YouTube, you can click subscribe and get notifications when we go live. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you. We'll talk to you guys all next Friday at noon Pacific time. Thank you guys all so much. Have a blessed week.